Hello friends, it's Kelly Pullum here, also known as Crafting Granny. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In Canada, and I've got a great card to share with you here tonight. I'm using the Lazy Days stamp set and the Lazy Days dies, and I'm using this embossing folder, which is called Exposed Brick, I believe. Anyway, these are wonderful products available through Stampin' Up! And you can shop in my online store for them, and the link is listed in the description of the video here. So I'm hoping you're catching me live, but if not, if you're watching later, you're also very welcome, and I'm glad to have you here. I'm also sharing these videos on YouTube, and I've had quite a few new subscribers lately to YouTube. So I'm going to say welcome to those YouTube subscribers who might be watching the video a little bit later as well. So, hi Nancy, I'm glad to see that you're here. I'm trying to get the comments up on Facebook, but so far the video is not showing up here, so I will have to just kind of see if I can find it. And it's just taken a few minutes here, so be patient with me. I had a lot of technical challenges today. I had hoped to have my new webcam working tonight, but unfortunately, oh, there I am. It's not very clear here though, this video, is it? Let's see if I can get it to go any clearer. It is not. Huh, okay, I'm going to play a little with lighting here. Try turning that off and this one on. And let's just see. It might actually be the glare on the case itself because of the plastic coating. We'll see how it goes as we go through. Anyway, this card, I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about how you could make this card for a casual crafter who doesn't have all the stuff, as well as how I can make this card with all the goodies. Okay, so that is a part of what I'm going to do tonight. But before I get started with that, I'm going to set this aside for a moment, and I'm just going to pull in the cards that I'm going to be sharing in my upcoming virtual card class. So this class is scheduled for August 12th. And you want to register as soon as possible. If you register by July 21st, I'm pretty sure that I can get the materials to you, including the stamp set, before the class date. But if you register before July 31st, I will still see that you get all the materials, but you might not have it in time for when the Zoom class is live, and I would have to have that saved for you. But at any rate, here are the cards we're going to do. This one was done with some fun with a spritzer, so you would need a spray water bottle. And this one I think is just gorgeous and elegant. And this one has a bit of a distressed look to it, just a little. And then this one is just my clean and simple card. So, as always, if you have other sentiments you wish to add, you can always play and adjust the sentiments to your purposes. That will be just fine. I don't feel the least bit offended when people do that. I want it to be what is useful for you. Oh, Nancy, is the internet not good tonight? That's no good. Huh. Okay. Well, let's just hope we do all right here. Oh, boy. One challenge after another, but I will not be stopped. I'm going to carry on crafting come what may. How about them apples? All right. So I'm going to pull in the resources I'm using tonight. As I mentioned, I'm using the Exposed Brick embossing folder. Now, I've done my embossing in advance, but I do love the look of this embossing folder. It creates, you can see the brick texture, but then you also see as if some of the brick has crumbled away. So that's just a neat neat look. And so I've got that actually on a couple pieces here for tonight. I'm going to use that and add it to the envelope, and I've got that for the front of the card as well. And then I've cut a couple pieces here that are layered. So these are just pieces of basic white. One is 2 3/4 by 4, and the other one is 3 by 4 1/4. So this is the one that I'm going to work with initially. Then I have my card base, which is made with thick basic white, and it's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4 for inside the card. In addition to those, I have a little 1/2-inch strip, which I'm going to use for stamping my sentiment. And I have some die cut pieces. So I have this piece that I cut in advance using the little pavilion die. And this one, oh, there we go again. So it is internet tonight, Nancy. I'm seeing a green screen. I hope that you're not, but I will persevere unless it tells me that it's not working at all. And then I have this railing, which I've die cut in advance, and an extra little bit here of railing, which I used some of earlier for this other card, but I'm going to use some more of it for this. And then I've got some cardstock here for stamping on. So let's set those pieces aside. I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and line this up and glue it together at the beginning here, because I'm going to actually use a part of this piece to extend the railing. I was having trouble with this glue earlier with it coming out too much all at once, and now I'm getting nothing. Isn't that the way with life? It's all or nothing. There we go. So I'm going to just lay that on, and this is just getting laid on top. And when that dries, it's almost, well, it's just not noticeable. And in fact, I'm going to stamp a chair that's going to go over top, so you won't even notice that there's a join there at all. And in fact, I think if you put that on a card, you really wouldn't notice anyway. Okay, so first thing I'm going to stamp, and I'm going to just pull in my foam mat here and put this underneath. I'm using 3 colors of ink tonight. I'm using Pebbled Path, Pool Party, and Memento. So to start off with, I'm using Pebbled Path, and I'm using this, which just looks like a floor, basically. And so I'm going to stamp here, stamp off, and then stamp on the card. And then I'm going to repeat that a couple more times here. And just to mix it up a bit, I'll flip it. I can't really see very well, but I'm trying to line it up there. Not perfect, but it will do. So there we go. So that is my first stamp there. So now the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to get my Memento. And I'm going to do some stamping on here. So I'm going to stamp the rocker, which I will cut out later with Memento. Sue, I see Nancy said hello. Oh, Sue, you made it. That is so awesome. I'm so glad to see that you're watching. Thank you for joining me. That is excellent. That warms my heart tonight. So here we go. I'm going to stamp a hanging basket, and I'm going to stamp a little bird. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to stamp it too, but it's going on the inside of my card. So I'm going to use this piece of 4 by 5 1/4, And I'm going to stamp this table with memento on the inside of the card, like so. Easy peasy lemon squeezy so far. Alrighty, so now I'll set this aside and bring my first piece back. And I'm going to bring in the Pool Party ink. So I'm using a blending brush tonight. And I enjoy using the blending brushes. I just have a few, and as you can see on this one, I've got more than one color. I've used this with blues and greens, and if I start on here, you get nothing. This is dry, and so even though it's stained a little bit, it's not going to show up on my paper until I apply some ink to it. So I'm going to go ahead here and rub this and pick up some Pool Party ink. And then I'm going to just tap off a little bit, and then I'm going to start coming in. Actually, I don't need this now. And I'm coming in from the side and working right across and then back. I'm just kind of filling in the background here. And I'm already realizing I'm kind of pressing harder than I should. When you have a really light color like Pool Party, it's tempting to press harder. And you don't need to. You just need to, what you need is patience. You should go at this a little longer and a little slower. But don't we all know that's hard to do? Okay, here we go. I'm trying not to press too hard now. Coming up to the top here. And it doesn't have to be dark all over. I'm going to try and come in here a little bit more at the bottom. That's better. Okay. So I'm just working that in, trying to create sort of a sky in the background. When I'm done, I just rub on here. Nothing is coming off, so I can assume that is clean and ready to use for next time. Okay, so that is using a blending brush. What if I didn't have a blending brush to use? Well, if you have Pool Party Light of the Stampin' Blends, sometimes you can stamp first and then go around your image just with little back and forth motions, and you can create the same effect using a Stampin' Blend marker. And then you don't have to have the blending brushes and all of those things if you just prefer to use markers. So that's another option for you. Okay, so I've got this. Now I'm going to pull in my images that I stamped, and we're going to color those. Okay. So here we go. So I am using, this is the Pebble Path Light. I'm using it on my chair. And initially, I admit, when I tried to do this on my chair, I tried to create a light and a dark. It didn't do anything. So I'm going to just go ahead and color. Now, when you're coloring on something that is fine like this, you just barely want to touch the ink tip to the paper, especially when your markers are new, because they were loaded with ink. You need no pressure whatsoever for that ink to come out. And if you hold it on here for long, you can see that starts to bleed and it just makes a big blob. So you do not want, you want your marker to be in motion. It is really like brush strokes with a paintbrush, except that it's kind of as if the paintbrush was bleeding, and so that ink flow just keeps coming, and you don't want to stop. You want to keep going in order to try and stay in the lines. However, having said that, I don't worry if I go out of the lines a little bit. I just don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. I just want to have fun, not get all stressed about little things. So here we go. I do love that when we color with our Stampin' Blends markers, you do not get coloring lines like you do if you've used kids markers like Crayola or other things like that. So they are great for that too. So there is my chair. Now for my bird, I'm going to come in with the Pebbled Path Dark. I'm going to use the bullet tip for this to start with, and I'm going to come along in the wing. I'm not putting a mark on all the lines there, just a little bit. Then I'm going to come back in here and color over the whole thing. Now, that looks pretty plain, but in order to give it a little more definition, I can come back with my color lifter. I'm going to put a dot around its eye, and I'm going to come down here around its belly, and I'm just going to rub that on there, and you will see that it will start to push the color away from the spots where I've drawn my lines. And so I'm just going to draw a little bit on here in order to remove some color so that it will give that bird a little bit more texture. And that it does its work over time. I think you can start to see there now. I can from here anyway, that where I've drawn with the color lifter, there's a little bit of lighter or white showing. Yes, you can see that. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this over because coloring upside down is harder. I'm going to use Copper Clay Dark for my clay pot to start with. I'm going to start with the outside bits here. So these are the bits that are the edge of the pot, and I think a little bit there. And then I'm going to kind of come along here where the dots are. Just going to put a little bit dark there, a little bit there on the edge of the pot. Now I've managed to color my hand. Oh well, I wonder if that'll come off in the hot tub. Do you think that will? Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to now come in with Copper Clay Light and just finish that off. When that dries, we'll have a little bit of dark on the edge and a little bit of light in the middle. Now when I did my initial card, I tried using Parakeet Party because I wanted to do all in colors. But I realized Parakeet Party just didn't quite work with the other colors in my card. So I decided to try this time Granny Apple, because this is a bright, so it will give a pop of color, but it's not going to be so, it's not neon. You know what I'm saying? Like the Parakeet Party is kind of a neon sort of thing. And what I did to give some texture here to my leaves is I just literally started with the dark for the center, came back and colored over with the light. So just to give a little tiny bit of definition there. So a little dark, and I'm doing these a few at a time for a reason, because if you do this and you do it all at once, by the time you get to the end, the dark will have dried and you won't get the blending that you want of the colors. Then it starts to look like you've got a line here and a line there, which isn't not the look I'm going for. Okay, so I'm going to come back in here, a little more dark here, a little more there, a little more there. Here we go. I'm wondering if you guys have storms or anything going on. It's kind of overcast here, but not stormy, so I'm surprised I'm having as much internet trouble as I am. Might have to see what I can do about that. Come in here. go. There. So that is my hanging basket. Now I still have my table to do, which I did the same thing before with the pebbled path for the table itself. I like this color. It just kind of looks like weathered wood to me. Maybe stained wood that's weathered a little. Here we go. Now, if you are a coloring expert, feel free to do all kinds of shading with this, but I am not. So I'll just go kind of clean and simple, if you will, with my coloring. And I'm just going to make these straws green just to kind of make this pull in the colors of the other images. Okay, so I've got that done. Now we're going to die cut these pieces. So I've got my mini here. I might have to do this a few times because I may have stamped these a little too close together to do all at once. So I've got my mini base plate, my first cutting plate, which I pull back a little in my sandwich. Put my paper on here. And I've got my dies. Now, the neat thing about this bundle, there are 2 dies for the chair. One, oh, you've got some sun shining through now and again, Sue. Well, that's good. The one chair that you stamp faces in one direction, and the other chair that is only die cut faces the other direction. So that's kind of neat here. So I'm just going to get this kind of sort of lined up here. That looks good. Put that one down. I've got my hanging basket. Here we go. And this one's pretty easy if you just line up this hole at the top and then kind of take a look at your leaves. If you can get those 2 parts lined up, you're golden. There. And the last one is the flying bird. There's a standing bird and a flying bird in this bundle. I have to say I love that there are so many dies with this bundle. There's the pavilion and there's the railing that I'm using today. There's a bird house and oh, what else does this one have? A basket of plants that's sitting on the ground, as well as this one, the table, as you saw. So just a ton of really great dies in this set. I'm going to try and use a variety of them as I do my different cards. I'm going to do the same bundle next week and again the week after. And then we'll have something new come August. There we go. Get these out. There. I've got a little magnetic strip over here by my light to hold these dies, because I can't tell you how many times I've found I can't find something. So I'm trying to be practical here. All right, let's see how I'm doing. So I've got this piece here, and I'm going to bring in this pavilion piece. And I just lined this up with the very top. Now, if I was smart, I would have used adhesive backing, like what is it? Ugh. I can't think of what it's called. It's like, it makes like a sticker. It's double-sided, and you die cut it, and it goes right on here. And I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, that's okay. But I have another way of doing this, and so we will try that tonight. If I can just find my silicone mat, which I can't. Okay. Well, let's try just a glob up here. And then we are going to use a dauber. Having one of those craft room reorganized moments where I can't find a finger dauber that isn't dirty. But anyway, we'll use this one. So usually I use my silicone mat to do this, but again, I can't remember where I packed it away in this room either. So I'm just going to work here at the top of the table. I'm going to come along here, and I'm just going to daub, 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 getting some glue. Oh, look, it is coming out yellow, but hopefully it'll be okay because it's on the back. Here we go along here, and I'm going to come along, I think about that far. Okay, now I'm going to take this, at least now I'll know where the glue is on my table. I'm going to line this up across the top, and then I'm going to come down the side here, making sure that my my pedestal is lined up here so that the narrowest part is even with the edge of my paper. Okay, so that worked out pretty well actually, considering. Okay, so now I'm going to just snip off this excess. Oh, I seem to be frozen. Let's see. I'm stuck. Am I still recording? Yeah, it's still moving from here. So I'm going to keep going and hope that the camera catches up. So I'm going to snip here, get rid of this bit, set that aside. I'm going to bring my railing in here. It's going to go along here, and I think I'm actually going to go this way. That's what I did before. So I'm going to put my glue in here. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to come along in here, right even with the edge of my floor, and then I'm just going to snip here, right where I can feel this die cut, and here, and just make that railing come right up next to the side there. Now, my chair is going to go on here, and my hanging pot is going to go in here, and my bird is going to come in towards the plant. So I'm going to lower the rocker a little bit. Here we go. I thought about using dimensionals, but I'm using dimensionals for another part of this card, so I'm not going to use them for these images. There we go. Just that looks a little tilted. Let's see if I can shift it a bit. There. Let's make it hang straight down, shall we? Here we are. Here we go. There. And my birdie, which I just love these little birdies. I don't know why I'm such a fan of little birdies, but they make my heart happy too. Okay, so you'll notice I left this piece on here. I kind of like that, so I just left it there. I'm going to pull in my card pieces here and start putting things together. So I told you I had this piece is 3 by 4 1/4, so I'm going to mount these together. Get this started. Oh, don't stick. Don't stick where I don't want ya. Here we go. So this should just leave an 1/8 of an inch border, except for the top here where I have a little bit more. I'm going to use my glue eraser. I can see the faint hint of yellow here. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but I can see it. So I'm going to take my glue eraser when I'm done and just get rid of that, but not to worry about it right now. And I'm going to take my embossed piece here. Like that. Onto my card front. This needs to be folded and burnished. Oops, wrong one. There. Okay, then inside I've got my stamped image ready to go. I chose not to put an extra sentiment in this one. I will be on the next one, I know, because there are so many sentiments to choose from. But for this one, I'm just going to go with thanks, I think. So here we are. Now this piece, I'm going to use dimensionals and pop up on the front here. I put in the description, I was inspired by Amy Conders, who is stampwithamyk.com, and I saw her card first, but I did notice afterwards there are 3 or 4 people who did a very similar type thing with their lazy days. So if you're on Pinterest, check it out. There are quite a few cards that are quite similar to this design. Mine is again another variation kind of on a theme, if you will. So this is just going to be centered in the center of my embossed cardstock. Voila. Now let's stamp a sentiment. I think I'm just going to use this piece because I used it earlier, and I might as well. I can still get another sentiment out of here. Okay. Hopefully I'm centered there. I can't tell with the camera. Yay! It worked! Okay. There, and then I'm going to just cut again on an angle, but I think I might trim this a little bit, and then trim a little bit here. Okay. So this is going to come now and go on my card here. I think I'm going to put it right about there. Here we go. There. And now some rhinestones on here, which I think I put away. Okay. So I chose a medium here. Actually, I put it right up here on the other card, and I did that because I had a boo-boo, and when I erased, it made a mess. So I put it where that was. I'm looking at this now and thinking it doesn't have to go in exactly the same spot. Let's try in the center there this time. And then I'm going to take a little one and put it down here, and another little one, and just put it on an angle up here. Okay, so there we go. Now the last but not least part is with my envelope. And so this is my best strategy as far as doing the envelope creation. I don't put glue on the paper, I put the glue on the envelope. Try to get as close to the top as I can here without going over. Then my embossed paper goes on top. So this is a 3 by 6 inch piece of cardstock, which I have embossed. I've done the same technique using 3 by 6 piece of designer series paper, and then that is to create my envelope flap. So now I just flip that up, and easy peasy lemon squeezy, I can cut around the edge of the envelope, and I don't even have to be particularly careful, because if I happen to cut a bit of the envelope flap away, oh well, who cares? It doesn't show terribly much. So this is a pretty quick way to add some pizzazz to your envelope and make sure that it really coordinates well with your card. So there we go. I have tried when I did these embossing just the envelope flap. You can do that, but let me just tell you, this is much easier than trying to fit this exactly, the envelope exactly in your embossing folder. Fold this over so you don't get this part and everything else. This is just way easier. So I hope you like the card tonight. I'm going to just pull in, if I can find it. Yes, here's my sample card. So I did the same thing, except you can see how the Parakeet Party was a little different green. I did go over this one with the Granny Apple to try to tone it down. And just for fun, I did this one with a welcome instead of the thanks. So I've got both of those. And as I said, I hope you like the card. I would appreciate your comments. I would love it if you would share the video on your home Facebook page, because you'd be amazed at how many people might be interested that you don't think will be. And yeah, and check it out on YouTube if you want to go back and watch parts over again. So thanks again for being with me, and I hope to see you again next Tuesday, where I'll be making another card with the Lazy Days bundle. Take care, friends. It's so good to have been with you tonight. Sue, you go right ahead and case it. I know you've got the bundle. That would be awesome. This time it'll be you casing me instead of the other way around. Have a great evening, ladies. Bye-bye now.